I'd like to take this moment to thank the whole team for taking this journey and for lending Morgan's voice to the history of the 761st Tank Battalion. And, as you know, it is quite a voice. So, Morgan, it's great to have you here. Although, around here, to be honest with you, the whole deep, smooth voice thing, that's really my thing. Well, on a serious note, all Americans should be inspired by the story of the 761st Tank Battalion, a unit known as the Black Panthers. It's an incredible story and a deeply American story. This battalion earned its place in our history alongside the 1st Rhode Island Regiment, the 54th Massachusetts Infantry, and the Tuskegee Airmen. The 761st had to train to fight Hitler while surrounded by the racist restrictions of the Jim Crow South. But they persisted. And in 1944, they finally saw combat when they took back a German-held town in France. And one of their commanders remembered, "My men were tigers. They fought like seasoned veterans. We got our lumps, and we took that town." And I should say that the commander included another word in his comment right before the word town, which anyone who served in combat, you can figure out what that word might have been. Now, during World War II, black troops called for a double victory, for liberation overseas and for liberty at home. And that has some important echoes now. 75 years ago last week, President Truman signed the executive order that finally integrated the U.S. military. Ending segregation in the U.S. military made us a stronger force, and it made America more noble and more whole. It's one reason why my own life journey could take me from growing up in the Jim Crow South to serving as Secretary of Defense. And it's one key reason why President Biden can nominate an outstanding warfighter like Air Force General C.Q. Brown to be our next chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Today, our military draws on the talents and strengths of all Americans, regardless of color or creed. And that's why the United States has the strongest fighting force in history. So we owe a special debt today to the men of the 761st Tank Battalion. Their story doesn't just inspire us to serve our country, it inspires us to stand up for its founding ideals. So to Morgan and your whole team, thank you for bringing this important story to new audiences. And once again, sir, thank you for being here. Shock treatment associated with this, is there?
Thank you.
Well, again, sir, thanks for being here. And I just, with your permission, I'd just like to ask you a couple of questions about what this means to you. You've been working this project for a long time, and you're very, very committed to telling this story, and I just want to know why it was important to you to tell the story of the 761st. And as you did that, is there anything that surprised you?
No, nothing that surprised me. People hear about black soldiers, how they comport themselves, yada, yada, yada. That's not amazing, just the way it is. History of blacks in the military, war, has always been, it's always been heroic. From the Revolutionary War to today. The big difference is who knows about it. And what do you know about it? Now, we did Glory, and I had people tell me they wept when they saw that, because they had no idea. Had no idea. People who grew up, particularly in the South, thinking that all we did was chop cotton and drive mules. That's the history and the legacy of blacks in America. I grew up going to the movies. I learned history from the movies. One of the things wrong with me learning history in the movies was that didn't see me. That bothered me. It still bothers me. But if I want my story told, I have to tell it, don't I? And that's my mantra. If you want your story told, you got to tell it.
Well, we all look forward to seeing and hearing that story being told, and so thanks for your commitment to this project. A lot of people are going to learn a lot about this great unit. And by the way, Glory is still one of my favorite films, and I think there's probably a bunch of other folks in the room who would say the same thing. Just extremely well done, and so thanks for bringing that to all of us. Morgan, as I said in my opening, and I know you were at Howard last week, we just marked the 75th anniversary of President Truman signing the executive order, and that order was 9981, and that desegregated the military. We both know progress has been made, but there's more to be done. So I'd like to ask you, in terms of how you see things, where do you think we are today, and how do you see this?
You mean in the military or just in America?
We'll start with the military, and then we'll go to America.
Well, obviously, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at our military, and yeah, this is America. This is it. Now, if the rest of the world, rest of our country, gets on board, we'll be world beaters. World beaters. Socially, economically, militarily, however you want to look at it. Because if you said, as a fighting force, with the best in the world, as a country, we want to be the best in the world. That's how I see it.
And so I would absolutely agree with you that we are a diverse military. That's what we're all about. We reflect the country that we serve. And we're going to continue to make sure our leaders reflect the military that they lead. Unknown to some people, Morgan, you actually served in uniform.
Yes, I did.
And you were in the United States Air Force?
I was.
But you've also served by telling stories like this. What is your advice for young people who would look to serve or who are thinking about serving?
I don't think there is anybody who gets into the military and doesn't benefit. I learned so much in that 3 years, 8 months, and 10 days. What part of that was funny? 3 years, 8 months, and 10 days? Yeah. Y'all want to hear an anecdote about me in the military and why I wasn't fit?
Sure, go for
I was assigned to radar maintenance. Now, I'm about as mechanical as a bug. But there was a young man in the office. I came out of high school being able to type 65 words a minute. So this young man in the office had a girlfriend who was way, way, way too young, and he got arrested. So I volunteered because me and an Underwood typewriter were close friends. And I could compose letters, I could better at that than at radar maintenance. So one day we get a new sergeant in, 2 rockers, decked, black. I have a captain who's white. This sergeant checks in, he's just come in from Thule, Greenland. Sergeant Spaulding, I want you to meet one of my best men. Your best man is the one who volunteers. So I go in there, and I say, Sergeant, it's nice to meet you. I'm sure you keep your nose clean. We'll get on all right. He had an eyebrow that could touch his hairline. He said, you want to take this box up to the 6th tower? I'm a 2-striper. There's the captain sitting right there. What'd you say? I said, no. The fuck? The captain sitting right here, his name was Charles F. Ledger. He just kept his head down. And this sergeant couldn't figure out what he was going to do. Slap me? Or what? So just before he decided, I said, Sergeant, if you want me to take this box up to the 6th tower, you tell me to do it, it's gone. But you asked me if I wanted to, and the answer is still no. We became tight. He never forgot that lesson.
Well, Mr. Freeman, I'm getting a hook here from the general, but I want to thank you again for this tremendous piece of work, and we all look forward to seeing it in full. Also, thank you for your service to our country, and thank you for your continued service in telling the American story. And we are really, really grateful for all that you do. So,
I will continue
God bless
as
you.
long as I can get out of bed.